his AV. While that's being done, I'll just give you a little background, because our next speaker is the winner of the inaugural Stephen Larkman Travel Award. Stephen Larkman was actually from Calgary, later transplanted to Toronto. He was president of the Calgary chapter, and when he passed away a bit unexpectedly last year, his friends in the SSEA, particularly those in Calgary and Toronto, wished to honor his memory. As he had traveled to Toronto for many years, we thought it would be fitting that his memory would be honored by helping another scholar from outside this city to come here and present. And so we have today Kento Zenihiro, an officer of Waseda University in Japan, who is known on Facebook as Mr. Cone, Mr. Funerary Cone. And he is going to present to us on some lost documents which reveal more about those mysterious items, the funerary cones of ancient Egypt. Well, thank you.
My presentation today will not seek to solve a problem or to suggest a new theory. Rather, it will introduce new, hitherto unknown material that I found in Sudan this spring. They comprise Makaram's collection of funerary cones. Lamin Makaram is known as a researcher of funerary cones and an archaeologist who excavated the Nubian site of Kawa. In 1957, he and Norman Dice Davies co-authored a corpus of inscribed Egyptian funerary cones, and now standard reference for cones. After Makaram's death in 1997, his family bequeathed his manuscripts to Professor Abdallah of the Open University of Sudan. Subsequently, he divided the donated material among certain facilities, such as his own laboratory and the Sudan Library at Khartoum, and so on. Today, I focus on the material housed in the Sudan Library. However, before proceeding, let me briefly introduce funerary cones, because only a limited number of Egyptologists are interested in them, and only few people know of them. Funerary cones are usually about 20 centimeters long, and they are generally believed to have been used on the facades of the tombs of New Kingdom officials at Thebes. These cones are made of stamped conical masses of clay. Because of this easy and low-cost method, Egyptians could mass-produce them. Some coins were duplicated many times from one stamp. One was reproduced over 300 times. And it is easy to understand them if you think of them as something akin to the business cards of the dead. As you can see, both have the owner's titles and name, as well as personal figure. The exact functions of funerary cones are still unknown, but they were something that identified the owners of dead tombs. Funerary cones can be found in many modern museums, universities, and private collections. Even in Japanese museums, which contain extremely few Egyptian items, we can find 20 examples in 8 museums. And there are 44 examples in the Royal Ontario Museum. Despite the abundance of examples, funerary cones have not been extensively studied. Then, are funerary cones worth studying? I believe they are, for the following practical reasons. First, they permit a rough estimation of the total number of unknown tombs of the Theban officials. Since each cone was originally tied to a specific tomb, the number of tombless coins, the ones for which we cannot locate tombs, equals the number of unknown tombs. Second, the distribution of the tombless coins can indicate the location of the unknown tombs from which the coins were derived, thereby aiding excavation. And third, comparing coin titles and non-coin titles allows for the establishment of a hierarchy among the titles on the basis of the assumption that the titles on the coins were the most important ones of their owners. This approach provides a fresh perspective on ancient Egyptian society. Then, why have the funerary coins not been studied? There are many reasons for this lacuna, I think. One of them could be that funerary coins are made not of gold or colorful precious stones, but of mud. And they were made not for royal families, but for officials. These features deterred Egyptologists from examining them. In spite of this bias in Egyptology, Volume 1 of Davies and Macadam's corpus was published. I would like to underline its salient features. It shows 611 coins with full-size drawings. The standard catalog before that was Darcy's, which contains pictures of 299 coins with roughly handwritten drawings, which ignored scale. Therefore, the corpus is far superior to Darcy's work. Naturally, the second volume, which was to contain Macadam's comments and other detailed textual information on each coin, which was not included in the first volume, has been long overdue. Unfortunately, it has never been published, and Macadam passed away in 1997, 40 years after the publication of the first volume. 14 years later, early in this year, one of my colleagues told me that he had, quite by accident, found some of Macadam's scripts in the Sudan library. Thus, I flew to Sudan in April and stayed there until May. As the library did not have an online catalog system, I had to manually scour disordered heaps of dusty books in the hope of finding more material. In the end, I found a total of 6 relevant works in 3 categories. The first category is a notebook written by Davies. The second category is a copy of Davies and Macadam's corpus with Macadam's notations, an analysis of which can help us deduce how he wanted to correct certain errors. The third consists of 4 of Macadam's files, which were based largely on Davies' notebook. And Macadam intended to publish these files as a second volume of the Davies and Macadam's corpus. The total number of pages of these works is 958. Let me explain Davies' notebook. As Davies had studied coins from about 1920 until his death in 1941, this notebook is the fruit of over 20 years of research. It includes many sorts of archaeological data: colors, length, find spots, the tombs to which each coin belonged, the manufacturing method, the number of coins formerly held by Davies himself, museum holdings and their inventory numbers, and owners' names and titles. I would like to underline the importance of the data on museum holdings. The data help us understand the exact types of coins that existed in ancient times. Some coins are only hypothesized to have existed. For example, this is not a traced, but a handwritten rendering of a coin. Handwritten figures like this were not made from actual objects. Rather, they were published because Davies or Macadam had been informed of their existence by someone, and they published these images without viewing the coins with their own eyes. So to discern whether the coins actually existed, one has to observe the actual coins. And this is a page from Davis' notebook that describes this coin. And here, he says that its examples present in museums in Cairo and Orleans, ORL Orleans, for which he gives an inventory number here. This notation permits us to view the objects with our own eyes. And thanks to the words next to it, here, according to Darcy, we can also understand that the source is a personal communication between Davies and George Darcy. In this way, museum holdings information helps us to trace the sources of the ghost coins, the ones that are published in the Davies and Markham's corpus but whose museum locations are unknown. Therefore, we can confirm or deny their existence. The find spots data are also important. Here's Davies' description of this coin. And the text reads, 30 found in T200. That means 30 examples were found in Theban tomb 200. This information has not been published anywhere. Only this notebook contains it. As many different persons had the same name in the New Kingdom, Egypt, it is necessary to refer not only to names and titles, but also to find spots when one allots coins to tombs. Second, both Davies' notebook and the corpus have Markham's scribbles in the margins, and I have counted 113 updates. Furthermore, Markham reveals a new coin were never published in any book, article, or on website. He states here, Bristol HA5249, temporary number 181A. And at the bottom, from dealer Said Mulatam in Luxor, who had another, 1972. Thanks to this notation, we can know that there are at least 2 examples of this coin, and one of them is in the Bristol Museum. I have requested photos of this coin and could obtain them. And one of them is this. As you can see, the actual signs inscribed on the coin is different from what Markham drew. Again, viewing the coins, the actual coins and these photos of them is important. The third category comprises 4 of Markham's files. 2 of these files are catalogs for each coin, and the other 2 are indices of personal names and titles. In the coin catalogs, in principle, 1 page is allotted to 1 coin. Markham organized and partially typed the information in Davies' notebook and added his ideas. Of particular interest is the richness of his remarks on ancient vocalization, as Markham knew at least Arabic, Coptic, Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. He was keen on the pronunciation of words, and he sporadically comments on this subject. Furthermore, Davies' notebook and Markham's files contain many personal communication sources, which enhance the value of the material much more. As we have seen, the material is of high value. However, it presents certain qualitative problems. First, the handwriting is poor and very difficult to decipher, especially by me, a non-English native speaker. However, I'm not the only one vexed by this problem of poor handwriting. And please look at this page from Davies' notebook. These sentences were written by Davies, and there are some Macadam's comments here, and also here. And Macadam complains of Davies' miscopy of his own execrable handwriting. Apparently, Macadam was also in trouble. Then, how is Macadam's handwriting? Here it is. As you can see, it too is terrible. It created problems not only for me, but also for Davies and Macadam themselves, though I was troubled by it. Second, the latter part of Davies' notebook was damaged by insects. And please look at this page. There is a small hole here. As we proceed, this hole becomes bigger and bigger, like this. And finally, it becomes this big. 53% of Davies' notebook is damaged by this hole and has been lost forever. And lastly, additional material may still be inserted or may have been lost. Although Davies and Macadam's corpus covers 611 coins, Macadam's files cover only 211 in 2 volumes. Thus, 4 more of these files are probably missing, assuming that 100 coins or so are listed per book. I've tried to find these files, but I couldn't during my stay in Sudan. And finally, I would like to announce that I plan to publish all 958 pages online. As I've said, I believe that the study of funerary coins contributes to our understanding of the society of New Kingdom Egypt. However, many sentences are illegible to me. So if you are interested, please contact me later and help type them. Thank you very much.
Well, we have time for perhaps a question or two. Any questions? Remembering, of course, that I can't always see who's got a hand up if they're blocked by the podium. Yes, Joe.
Just a quick question. Could you repeat how many cones are in the Ross collection?
Around where?
The Royal Chinese.
44.
Thank you.
But I have to add that the list I could obtain was 44, but yesterday I could find only 40 or so. Yesterday I searched the cones in the room.
Yes, we hope that when you come to publish those cones in the Royal Ontario Museum, you'll think of the SSCA Journal. Any other questions? Yes, oh, there's a hand, yes.
Yes, Macadam's material was given to, or was found in Sudan, the notebooks, but the material that you've shown actually deals with Egypt.
Yes.
Macadam worked a lot in Sudan. Are there anything in the notebooks that Macadam wrote that deal with Sudanese material?
You don't want to know other materials other than funerary coin written by Macadam?
Are the funerary cones everything that Macadam wrote about his notebooks in Sudan, or other things besides that?
Yes. Not only funerary coins, but also I could find many materials written by Makaram, and funerary coins are only part of it. And at least 39 materials are in Sudan, and it includes the Makaram's material about Napata and Meroe, and also his teaching materials he made, and also Mrs. Griffith's letter. I don't know why, but many scholars sent personal letters to Mrs. Griffiths, and Makaram had it, and they are now in Sudan. Many scholars' letters to Mrs. Griffiths are also in Sudan Library, and I found it there.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Are you making also a list of the names you find on the coins? Because I think it could be very useful for studies on onomastica in ancient Egypt.
Name of coins?
Names of the owners. So the names occurring on the coins.
Yes, I have already created and published on my website.
Oh.
So please check later.
Any more questions? I think that there are none. I cannot see any. So we'd like to thank everyone for coming this morning. Thank you very much. You may now adjourn for lunch, and we will reassemble at 1 p.m. with Professor Marianne Wegner chairing. If you have any questions about the locations of any event